Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Congress is deeply worried about the opioid crisis and mental health issues. So last year, we allocated more than $7 billion for the prevention and treatment of these conditions. Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. heads the Department of Health and Human Services, which is charged by law with administering that funding through the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA. Mr. Stuart, if confirmed, you will be the top lawyer at HHS advising Secretary Kennedy. So let's do a little law so that we can understand what kind of advice you would give to the Secretary. 42 U.S.C. 300X-55 says, HHS shall terminate SAMHSA grants only if, quote, a state has materially failed to comply with the agreements or other conditions required for the receipt of the grant. That is the only condition under which Congress says these grants can be canceled. So, Mr. Stuart, let's start easy. I've read you the statutory language. Can Secretary Kennedy wake up in a bad mood one morning and simply say to the worker who is running a suicide hotline, I don't like your face, I'm canceling your state's grant money?
Well, let me first respond by saying thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with you in the future. I did receive your letter.
I appreciate that, but we're very limited on time. Would that be legal?
What I can tell you is that in every instance, I'll give the advice of complying with the law.
No, that's not the question I asked. I'm asking you if Secretary Kennedy wakes up in a bad mood one morning, can he say to somebody, I don't like your face, so I'm canceling your state's SAMHSA grant?
Well, what I'd like to do is review the code and all the code provisions.
I just read you the code language. Did you have any problem understanding it? A state, you can only do cancellation if a state has materially failed to comply with the agreements or other conditions required for the receipt of the grant. That's all it says.
The key words, though, are the agreements and the terms of those.
You think there's an agreement out there that says that the Secretary can cancel a grant because I don't like your face?
No, so I think that, so I don't believe that's been the case. I don't believe that's ever happened.
I have no reason. I'm asking you about the legal advice you will give. And I want to understand under a statute that says these are the only conditions under which a grant can be canceled. Do you think Secretary Kennedy can say, I don't like your face, so I'm canceling your grant?
So accepting that term, I don't like your face, what I'm telling you is that the terms and conditions of those agreements matter. And so we have to review those.
I don't think any of them say, I don't like your face.
No, I agree with you on this, but I haven't heard Secretary.
Look, we're 3 minutes into this. Can I just have a, yeah, that would be illegal?
That you can't cancel a contract, to my knowledge, because you don't like somebody's face.
Okay, let's do a second one. What if Secretary Kennedy wakes up in a bad mood and he said, I heard you're a Republican, and it turns out I really don't like Republicans, so I'm going to cancel your grant for your addiction treatment center. You think that would be legal?
Secretary, I think that there's a formula to review these things. I believe Secretary Kennedy would go to council and ask for these things.
I'm asking if the Secretary wanted to do that, he wanted to cancel all the grants that are held by Republicans, would that be legal?
My advice would be to follow the rules and the laws with respect to every one of these.
You are the one who's supposed to tell him how to interpret a statute that says the only conditions are if the state is not meeting the terms of the contract.
We've got to meet the terms of the contract. If they're outside the terms of the contract, it can be canceled.
Okay, so can he cancel because you're a Republican?
If it's not included in the terms of the contract, no.
Bingo. Okay, so the answer is that would be illegal, right? How about the third one? Your work is no longer necessary. Your state's grant is canceled. Let's just say there's nothing in the contract about whether the work is necessary. Would it be illegal to cancel the grant under those conditions?
That's not as easy a question as simply saying yes or no. Well, listen, we've got to be able to look in terms of the intent of these contracts as well.
No, that's not what the statute says. And you are the lawyer who is giving advice to Secretary Kennedy. And so I want to know, as the person who gives advice, when you read statutory language that says there's only one condition under which you can do this, and that is if the state has materially failed to comply with the agreements or other conditions, that you can cancel the grant. And by the way, you have to give notice in a hearing for doing that. Can he wake up and say, we decided we don't need you anymore?
My advice
if that's not in the grant.
My advice will always be to follow the terms and agreements.
So in this case, you would say, you can't do that, Mr. Secretary.
I will give the advice to follow the terms of both the code and those agreements.
Okay, and if the contract doesn't say that, you will tell the Secretary not to do it.
In every instance, we will follow the terms and conditions and make sure we follow the code.
Well, I really hope you do follow the terms and conditions in the agreement, because that is exactly the letter that Secretary Kennedy sent, canceling projects all over this country, and the only grounds he gave were grounds that are not in the contract and clearly in violation of the law. So I hope, Mr. Stuart, based on what you've said, you will deliver that message to Secretary Kennedy and give advice that is consistent with the law in the future. Thank you.
Well, let me just...
Thank you. And Senator Young.
Thank you.